by social justice, we are talking about justice in the distribution of wealth, opportunities, privileges, and rights. So, if we are talking about social justice, you can talk about social justice in the family. You can talk about social justice in a state, in the nation, and even in the global community. So, people must be able to have access to wealth, the wealth of the nation, the wealth of the family, the wealth of the state, and so on and so forth. The moment people don't have access to wealth, everyone does not have access to wealth, does not have access to any of the privileges that are there in the state, in the nation, in the family, of course, there will be social injustice. And of course, you know that when we talk about the principles of social justice, there is access, there is equity, and then of course you are talking about participation. Now, do we have all these things there, you know, in families that we have around us? Do we have such opportunities out there in the different homes, in the state, in the nation? If you listen very well, you will notice that there are grievances. People are expressing grievances over so many forms of injustices. And so you can feel social injustice even wherever you find yourself as far as this country is concerned. Now, recently we are talking about access to health care, particularly now when we are talking about this pandemic and people are talking about access to vaccines. Some nations cannot easily access vaccines. That's social injustice. So when we talk about social justice, we must have access. How do we distribute the opportunities that we have? When you talk about jobs, so many youths are out there roaming the streets. They don't have access to jobs. Some few people in some places, but you know, because of maybe certain privileges or where they come from or certain religions they belong to, they have access to some things others don't have. Or you talk about certain people are privileged to know one or two persons, others don't have, you know, such access. You think people will be happy? So there is social injustice that is becoming palpable, you know, in the society nowadays.
Social justice is simply giving an opportunity, equal opportunity to your populace in a country, focusing on the vulnerables, the weak, and you know, ensuring that people are not discriminated in terms of participation. It could be voter right, it could be economic disenfranchisement, whatsoever it is, that people have equal opportunity or equal say.
Simply talking about equity, the ability of everybody in the society to be free, to have access to the goods in the society, a situation in which there's a fair play. Nobody is having what others do not have. So we social justice it when we now define it technically as justice in law, which means it has become technical, and then there's a push towards it. Everybody is saying we need to make it happen. We need to have social justice in our society. Another way I could explain social justice is that it justifies government intervention in the society. You know, our government must not be away from us. Each time they should just be with us. They have been voted in through democracy, government of the people, by the people, and it's for the people. So they are to do their job of having things equally shared in the society. It's a long-standing concept, equal wealth, equal opportunities, equal privileges within the society. And once the government is making sure it happens, then it is social justice.
What is good for the geese is good for the gander. That's what the basic idea around social justice. everyone deserves to have equal access to opportunities, to privileges, and of course, to work, equal access to, putting your potentials, your innovation to work, and earning what is, due to you. It shouldn't be with respect to either gender or tribe or creed or wherever you're coming from. Every person deserves to be treated equally. Every person deserves a fair hearing. Every person deserves the basic privileges accruable to a citizen.
It has a lot of relevance because first it kind of reminds the government of the day that they should be accountable. Okay, so there is like a checkmate of the activities, so people are watching them, questions are being asked, the international community are also watching the activities of the government of the day. For instance, even individual participation, your activities, so social justice is like giving a balance in terms of opportunities and what have you. And if you permit me to say, just like young people today are beginning to be conscious, to speak out and then say things. We hear of the answers and the, Occupy Lekki Toget, for instance, in Nigeria. These things are because of maybe certain kind of bad governance and leadership or so. So young people are beginning to speak out.
The relevance is that in our society, there are a few things that we have put in place. But despite the fact that they are in place, we don't enforce them. So when you choose a day to mark or a day to celebrate, it reminds you that it is existing. So having a Social Justice Day means it's an opportunity, like I'm on air now, for us all to come together, think about the day, speak more about the issues, discuss what it is actually all about. So it is remarkable that social justice is not just a concept out there in the dictionary, a concept out there in the classroom, a concept out there that is not being enforced. A celebration, remarking the days, brings it out as a topic that we need to discuss. And it's all about fairness. Can we all have justice? Can we have fairness in the society? Can we say everybody have fairness in terms of major things that we're all supposed to have in life? Shelter, food, security. Can we say this is shared equitably? We talk about gender, for instance, the women, the men. Are we given the same equity to men and women? In religion, do we say the same equity that is being given to religion A is being given to religion B? The individuals in the society, minorities. We always emphasize the issue of minorities. Majorities, do we say that all the minorities in the society are enjoying equally, just like the majorities? We put in some major tribes about others, and it brings us into all concepts like tribalism, nepotism. Like if we bring it right home in Nigeria, we will say that the present government, in case of appointment, that there's no lopsidedness of appointment. Can we say that there is no dichotomy between the North and the South, the East? Is everybody fairly treated? So Social Justice Day is a day to remind ourselves that if you are in an institution, for instance, or you work in a ministry, or you even work in a company, are you much more fairer to those people that are your own relations, your friends, than others in that institution? So it's a day to mark fairness.
I believe that the relevance of the day or the significance is actually to heighten conversations around social justice. Every day across the globe, we begin to have like concerns of widening gap between the high class and of course the low class. It does appear that there is a disappearing middle class in several societies, particularly in our nation in Nigeria. How do we bridge that gap? It is when we begin to like having conversations. As a day like this affords us opportunity to begin to talk about things like this. Through that, people are aware, people are sensitized, and of course, the power brokers can actually be conscientized to ensure inclusiveness in policies that should favor not just a few people, but every person should be carried along.
The International Labour Organization had this as a day to call nations together, to call individuals together, to call families together, to make sure that social justice is protected. The moment that is not there, of course, there will be no peace. Recently, we were talking about NSAS movement, NSAS protests. You know, out there in America, there had been movements, the Black Lives Matter, a situation where because of your race, you are not safe, you are not secure. You know, once these things are there, there will be no social justice. So the International Labour Organization, and in fact the global body, the UN, found it necessary to ensure that, you know, social justice is protected so that there will be peace. If there is no peace, it was somebody that said, for as long as the poor people, you know, are not able to sleep because they are hungry, the rich people will not also be able to sleep because the poor people are awake. So that's symbolic of what is happening in terms of social justice. So Social Justice Day, or the Global Day for Social Justice, is a call to remind us that whether as a family or as nations, as tribes, we should be able to ensure that people have access to all the privileges, to opportunities, whether opportunities to get admitted, opportunities to get jobs, opportunities to health care, all forms of, you know, opportunities. Those things should be made available to people so that there will be peace.
Well, I see the 2021 theme, a call for social justice in the digital economy, as most appropriate, even in the COVID-19 era. Considering the fact that, yes, businesses, education must have to continue online in several climes. Unfortunately, many people do not even have access to the right device or the connectivity in terms of data, you know, being able to access like simple connection. So what that actually means is that they are disconnected from all that is happening, both in terms of business, both in terms of the, you know, economic activities, in terms of continuing education, in terms of even accessing information. So how can they actually say that they are equal with the human race? You know, they are actually connected. How can we claim that we are all equal when some persons are actually disconnected in a time like this? But then COVID-19 has actually shown that the gap keep widening, and it's now a solemn moment for us to reflect on how can we begin to like bridge this gap. The digital divide has always been so wide ab initio, but then the COVID-19 just exposed what perhaps has been there but was not obvious.
If there's no social justice in a country, there can't be development, because there's going to be rancor, acrimony, people are going to be fighting, there will be no peace, there will be war, and once there is war, there is no way we can have development. Development is usually entrenched in peace. Peace, unity, and progress, they all go together. If there's no peace, if there's no unity, there can't be progress. So for us to have peace in our nation, Nigeria, we must have unity, we must have respect respect for each tribes in the nation. We must have respect for each gender in the nation. We must have respect for which individual, irrespective of class, whether you are educated, you are an illiterate. There must be respect for human dignity, for God making us in his image. I always emphasize that our Creator, when he was making us, he made us in his own image, and he expects us to respect ourselves, and he expects us ultimately to be happy. And when there is social justice, when there is fairness, the nation will grow, because people will be able to interact and work together. When you are not even happy, when you feel cheated, when you feel your rightful position has not been given to you, when some people are intimidating you and making you unhappy, and they're making sure that what is your right eludes you, and then you're supposed to work. How do you contribute to development? So development always will go with social justice in the society.
If we talk about social justice in terms of development, like I just mentioned the case of Niger Delta, look at the roads. We have the East-West Road. East-West Road had been under construction for several years. Now, in some places in the same nation, if they start a road project today, in the next 1 year or so, that road is completed. The road project is completed. Now, here from the Niger Delta, where we have the oil revenue, you have talked about the issue of this road project being there for years, from one administration to the other. And when it comes close to election period, that's when again more promises will be made. Look at the case we are talking about here in the Ogoni project, the Ogoni cleanup. Until we are very close to election again, you will not be talking about cleanup being resurrected, the idea being resurrected. These are all issues that can bring about grievances in the minds of people, whether they express or not. But you know that when grievances are bottled up, no matter how you try to suppress, one day those grievances will come up. And an example is what has just happened recently, the NSAS protest. So the government needs to do something, whether at the state level or the federal level, to address some of these inequalities, so that people will be able to have opportunities to the common good, which will make people to be happy. For instance, now the issue of voting rights. Voting rights is one aspect that we also talk about in social justice. Some people feel that they are deprived. You can be in the same state, the same nation, and then one particular group benefits, the other group does not benefit. That is social inequality, that's social injustice. And for as long as one group continues to dominate, continues to benefit, you talk about roads, you talk about infrastructure, you talk about building of institutions, universities, and so on and so forth. Some parts of this country continue to benefit, and the others do not benefit. Definitely, these grievances will continue to be there, and then at the end of the day, I think the youths are even those who are at the end of all these problems that we are talking about. They seem to be the highly deprived people, and it's not very good for this nation.
One thing I will say, also as a young person, I think if the young people are involved in the decision-making process, they have this kind of techie-savvy ideas. They can appreciate the century we are, and they can contribute more in terms of political activity, economic, and what have you. So we need to get more young people involved, promote good job opportunities and all these things. So with this we can achieve better development in terms of nation building.
Since social justice is all about inclusiveness and reduced inequality, when everybody begins to see themselves as equal stakeholders in nation building, we can get us to that point where every Nigeria can begin to reason, how will this my singular action impact on the future of the nation? When we get to the point of thinking, if everybody in Nigeria were to be like me, what kind of nation are we going to have? I think bringing our people to that point would mean first treating them as equal citizens. I always tell people, even the Nigerian president is not more Nigerian than I am.
The social justice system, from all indications, I will not score Nigeria 25%. I will not score Nigeria 25% because take the case of, let's take those with disabilities. Opportunities for employment are always coming every now and then. You know, when they come, do they consider those with disabilities? They don't. Until such people make protests, one or two may eventually be considered, if at all. Now, when opportunities come for jobs, for people to get employed, you know, whether as corporate organizations, as government agencies, they now begin to tell you, you must have 10 years experience, 5 years experience. That's social injustice. You've not given the opportunity for them to even get the jobs. Where will they get the experience? Youth cannot get access to employment because of such, you know, such standards that they lift to make sure that these people don't have, you know, access to such things. So they don't have. Now think about the issue of admission. In some places, they say, okay, they are educationally disadvantaged. Some others are not educationally disadvantaged. Now look at here in the Niger Delta. Some people who want to get jobs or get admitted, and because of where they come from, look at the oil coming from this part of the world. You know, we have all of us have access to the common good, the common source of revenue that Nigeria has. Now, at the end of the day, you cannot feel the impact of oil exploration here in this part of the world. Look at the black suit. You know, for some time now, black suit has been there, and nothing concrete is being done to make sure that people, you know, are taken care of by way of remediation and so on and so forth. So I think that we need to address such issues, because if they are not addressed, there will always be grievances. Grievances in the society, grievances in families, grievances even as a nation. So these things need to be looked into so that people will be able to have a feel of what social justice should actually be.
What a question, because I'm good at rating. You know, as a teacher, we're always marking scripts. You look at some scripts and you're just like, this is 30%, it's a retake, come back. We look at some scripts and we just say, let my people go, it's a 40%. And we look at some scripts and it's a 70%. You just say, this is 70, 75, this is A+. Social justice in my nation, Nigeria, for now, I'm going to rate 1 to 10 as 3.5.
No, 1 to 100.
1 to 100 instead of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in percentage. That makes it easy. Yeah. 35. I'm talking about 35% here. I'm saying I won't even pass it as 40, which is, it's okay. You know, 40 is that borderline of let my people go. But once it comes down below 40, you're saying, hey, give it a look. If it's a student in class, you say, come and repeat the class, that's a receipt. It's a carryover. Something is wrong here. So in the present day Nigeria, with this our government, even the youth clamoring, you can imagine the NSAS program, you can imagine what has been happening currently in the Yoruba land, Fulani headsmen, the issue of the Middle Belt, agitation, even Biafra that has become an history. People waking up again to say, hey, we want a country of our own because we can't see the Igbos in government. It means that social justice, fairness, equality in our nation, Nigeria, is not at its peak. It's not even at its average, because normally result is the game. if there's social justice, everybody is going to be happy. People will be rejoicing. There's going to be a status, there's going to be an equilibrium of peace. But present-day Nigeria, the complaint, it's all over. I read in the newspaper every day, can President Buhari work on his lopsided appointment? That just like the North is too comfortable, the Fulanis that belong to the tribe of the president are being pampered. The complaints are there. The Yorubas are complaining, South complaining, Southwest complaining, Southeast is complaining. So given this opportunity of social justice there, I'll be saying to the present APC government that they need to sit up when it comes to equality. Play down on nepotism, play down on tribalism. Look and fish out right people to do the right things in the right places so that we all will just be joyful. It's a big nation. God made us diversified, and our strength should be in our diversification. Our strength should be in unity, and then in unity we can now progress. So I will just fail Nigeria woefully, and I'll say this should be a new beginning today as we celebrate the world.
Unfortunately, it's so bitter, you know, so sad to say that we are below 40%. That's the truth. We are below 40%. I think the government of the day needs to do more, and even other private and organizations, CSOs, need to also, you know, sit up and see what they can do in terms of social justice to ensure balance. Because when you look at even what is happening in terms of gender gap, there's a lot of gap. Women are not totally involved in, you know, political participation and what have you. But we appreciate the numbers that are coming up. So in every other aspect of life, even the vulnerable people, they need to have, you know, say. We need to appreciate this vulnerable disability, people that are, you know, so these things are the areas we should also, you know, look at.
It will be necessary for people to come together to dialogue. Let people, the youths, people with disabilities, the young people, you know, the elderly, let there be a common ground for people to talk about issues relating to this nation. People have talked about constitutional review, and that seems to be an issue that is unending. We need to revisit the core of our existence as a nation. So dialogue is number one. Number two, the efforts. Look at the last national dialogue we had. So much money was expended. At the end of the day, what did they do with the results, with the report of that national dialogue? If we are able to remember or revisit some of the reports that had ever been had concerning different things that have affected us as a nation, we'll be able to make progress from there. So when recommendations are made, those recommendations should be implemented. When you don't implement them, of course, at the end of the day, people still remain, you know, underprivileged. They still remain in a situation where they are not happy about different things going on, you know, around them. So we must talk, and then when people have talked, implementation is one aspect. And then people must seek opportunities to redress some of the injustices. Whether there will be judicial review, whether there will be constitutional review, whatever reviews that will be necessary, people should take, you know, particular attention. They should give particular attention to some of these things so that people will be happy wherever they are. In families, for instance, there are families where only the boys are educated. The girls are left out. There are those places where, you know, the girls are given attention, the boys are not. These are also forms of injustices. So these things at different levels should be addressed so that people will be happy. Now, recently we are talking about the NSAS issue. Now, different panels, different tribunals, different, you know, bodies have been put together to address some of these things. How long will these things continue to be? Now, when the reports, you know, eventually come, whether at the state level or the national level, will they be implemented? The people that are found culpable in one area or the other, will necessary sanctions be used to at least make them know that these things that they did in the past, had to be addressed the way they are supposed to be addressed. So these things need to be looked into so that people at least will be able to have that sense of belonging, that they belong to either a family or as nations.
Before this present government came in, one of their points for campaign was that there's going to be restructuring. I remember there's a panel later set up, being chaired by Governor El Rufai of Kaduna State, for restructuring, because people were agitating. Let's restructure it. Let's have the state balance of the north and the south. Let's have a balance. Like, I'm from Kwara State, I'm Yoruba. If there's an adjustment, that Yoruba person should be from Osun State. Let's balance our borders. Let's balance, let's work on our police, state policing. All these issues were laid down in the national confab by the government before the PDP government, before the APC government. So everybody was just like, after now we'll be going to the national confab where we could have a lot of adjustment with restructuring of the country, so that we can say we now have a lot of equity, a lot of balancing. But it has not been so since the government came in, had the first 4 years, and now they almost finished with another 1 year, which is 5th year. So I will be encouraging that if there's going to be a moving forward in this nation, although some people are already saying restructuring is too late, they should decentralize, regionalize Nigeria. I will still say we could still do a good job at restructuring. And I was impressed when the federal government sometime last year called for constitutional review. Just like, if you have anything in the Constitution that you don't like, why don't you submit to Omagege's panel at the Senate? And I remember I had a number of what I don't really like in Nigerian Constitution, which I packaged and was sent in about 20 positional papers. Some for women. I said to have women in politics, the way it's supposed to be, the way this year in the US we have Kamala Harris. We also, thank God, we have Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala now in the WTO. Women are moving forward, but I was asking for a standardization of position of women managing gender, in which you have what I usually refer to as free zone for women, 30%. No man contests there, even with their billions. Women contest among themselves. And during the EndSARS, I extended the same advice. I said, can we also have free zone for the youths? A free zone that only youths contest. So 30% for the youths, 30% for the women, and then the remaining 40% for our daddies. And then they also compete among themselves. It's like you have a home, a 3-bedroom flat home, and you just say, this is children's room, girls' room, boys' room, mommy and daddy's master bedroom. Children don't go to master bedroom, and dad don't also need to say, because I'm in charge, today I've decided to sleep in the girls' room in the house. So we compartmentalize our political activities in such a way that everybody is given an opportunity to live and let live. So if this government will move in the direction in which they have started of constitutional review, I know it's going to help us in social justice. If they will also go for pick up back JEG's national confab and get people to work on it, is also going to give us a lot of fairness. But a situation in which when you just appoint, we can't even find the women in those appointments. And most time during the time of election, we know the number of women that have come up to vote. We, you know, the normal man-woman ratio 1 to 4. So we just like over 70%, and the youths in their numbers are out. And then when it is time for appointments, even though elective, and we won't find the women there, we won't find the youths there. And if those two sects in the society, the two sectors of youths and women in the society are not happy, how will our fathers be happy? So I'll remind us on this World Social Justice Day of restructuring Nigeria. And I will also, and of going back to our national confab, and of going back to our former regionalization, and taking a look at what we gained when we were there, so that at the end of the day, nobody will sit down and say General Muhammadu Buhari just came to pamper only his people. And we can see this is deteriorating into insecurity. Once you feel more privileged than others, you cheat them further. So
a tool that is very vital is social media platform, for instance. Okay, so I think that could also help to promote social justice. There's a number of advocacy programs going on by CSOs and different, so we've had Nigerian Month, National Mourning Day for people that have, lost their life due to Boko Haram advent, herdsmen, and what have you, different kind of political killings and all what have you, So we have the National Mourning Day. These things are a way of, calling the government of the day to order, and also people to, look at their activities.
You have a role to play. I have a role to play. In your own little corner, do everything to ensure that you promote inclusiveness, promote fairness. And remember that human right, it's not a privilege, it is a right. And every person, every individual that is a human deserves that inalienable right, which cannot be taken away from the person. Be the change.
I'm so happy we are celebrating the International Day for Social Justice. So it's a call, like a checkmate, for political actors, governments, stakeholders, young people, institutions, and what have you. So everybody should begin to sit up and ensure equality in all around. Yeah, they should not forget the vulnerable people as well.
To round up our discussion, I want to say that the call for social justice this year, particularly in this period of pandemics, the theme talks about digital divide. Now, the digital divide for us in academics, for us in institutions of higher learning, and in fact, institutions dealing with, in the education sector generally, we've been talking about e-learning. How many schools can implement e-learning very effectively? So you can even find the issue of social injustice there. In some schools, students stayed away. Of course, during the pandemic, students stayed away for a very long time. So government at all levels should try to ensure that this digital economy is taken care of. There should be access to it, and then there should be equitable distribution of wealth. Certain areas should not be favored more than others. People should have a sense of belonging in families, as a nation, as a state, and in different other aspects of our living. In the place of work, whether you are talking about junior workers, you are talking about senior workers, everybody should have a sense of belonging. Don't favor one group as against the other. The moment you continue to do that, those who are not favored will not be happy. People with disabilities should be considered, should be given opportunities to get employed. They should be given the opportunities to get admitted, whether into undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs, wherever. Fortunately for us at the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, we have a number of them who are coming in. But then even as they are coming in, we don't have the resources to take care of them. So we still call upon the government to try and see how issues relating to people with disabilities can be addressed. In the classrooms, we have the people who are dumb, we have those who are deaf, we have those who are blind, and then if you don't have all the resources, even the personnel that can address such things, it means that if these things are not made available, we are denying them access to education. And of course, human rights is one of the things we are talking about here in social justice. So let every opportunity be made available to everybody so that that sense of belonging will be there, and then the grievances can be properly addressed. Thank you very much. So I wish our nation and of course the global community happy Social Justice Day come February 2021.
Before I say happy World Social Justice Day, may I also add that because social justice is distributive justice, political and philosophical, and because social justice is fair treatment of all the people in society, including rights of minorities, equitable distribution of resources among communities, because social justice is about our equal access to wealth, opportunities, privileges within society. May we all take it seriously to have social justice planted in our hearts and in our relationships, so that as government, we govern with social justice on our mind. As individual, we live a life with, am I being fair to others? Is what I'm doing what I expect from them? May we all move in the spirit of World Social Justice Day, and let's have a better world, a better Africa, a better Nigeria, and a better home. Thank you. Happy Social Justice Day.